Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Great Voyage, the strongest emperor of the four emperors Blackbeard. Chapter 81. As early as the banquet on the ship, Lafayette and others heard Carlo talk about the devouring plan for Blackbeard in the future. I also have a deep understanding of the fruit characteristics of Orochi. So after Blackbeard finished talking about what he planned to do, everyone reacted, and they all felt that it was feasible. And, it's all right. Well, the deputy captain has done so much for the captain, shouldn't he do it? HMPH, Count, you acquainted? The queen, still standing behind Carlo. At this time, she also snorted softly. After listening to this explanation, the coldness in her eyes slowly dissipated. However, if Mr. Carlo lives forever, will he feel lonely when his concubine is no longer in this world? No, with Mr. Carlo's charm, if the concubine is really gone, there will definitely be a lot of little foxes to seduce him. No, my concubine must never let such a thing happen. Bastard, it's all because of that Teach, this king is going to kill him. No, in this case, wouldn't the concubine prevent Mr. Carlo's immortality? Absolutely can't do this. Not surprisingly, the little girl, the Empress, once again fell into a state of schizophrenia, unable to extricate herself. Inner drama, that's quite a lot. Question mark, question mark, question mark. However, just when everyone was overjoyed and excitedly discussing immortality surgery, it was Blackbeard, whose head was full of question marks. What the hell is going on with your calm reaction? Even if the repayment is due, then I have come up with such a perfect plan for both ends anyway, shouldn't there be a round of applause? Also, what happened to that woman's sudden murderous look? So terrifying. Since you have said so, then I am not hypocritical, so accept your so-called reward. At this moment, Carlo spoke, nodded, and agreed with Blackbeard's plan. There is such a good thing, how can it be rejected? And Lousy invested so much, there should be some return indeed, Carlo said. You are a kid on the road. However, it should be said that Blackbeard's brain is really good. Carlo has not even thought about this kind of operation, but he is quite capable of finding another way. The idea of giving him immortality surgery this time is indeed quite useful, and it is what Carlo needs. As long as his speculation is established, once the operation is over, his strength will also usher in a wave of epic enhancements. Better than Blackbeard's enhancements. It's just interesting that Carlo makes Blackbeard stronger because he has enough confidence to check him and not let him get out of his control. As for Blackbeard, he didn't realize this, simply because the rewards were not proportional to the other party's efforts, and he was afraid that others would run away. Kinda funny. Don't worry about it, Teach, there's no need as you said, the next target is to find the op fruit ability. Before that, you must at least acquire the ability of Orochi. So, stop the ink, now that Thunder Fruit has arrived, it's time for us to go. With that said, Carlo stood up, picked up the reclining chair under him, and threw it directly back to the big boat. Then, as soon as they waved to the crowd, they wanted to get on the boat, ready to leave Sky Island, go back to Qinghai to block Ace, and start their real plan for the top forces in this sea. Thief, ha ha ha, yes, let's go, little ones, this time down, it's time to let this sea feel our terror. We, the Blackbeard pirates, have had enough time to settle, and we should stir up a real big storm on this sea, thieves, ha 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 ha. Understood, captains. With the mobilization of Carlo and Blackbeard, the whole pirate group is excited. Their plan this time may subvert the pattern of the entire sea, and they are about to let it go. How can this not make everyone excited? Hey, stop. Just when the entire Blackbeard pirates had boarded the ship, ready to leave Burgess at the helm. A loud shout suddenly came from the rear, causing their movements to stop abruptly. Afterwards, everyone heard the sound and looked around, but found that in the depths of the island, there were several figures running towards them. And obviously there is no kindness in the slightest, from the tone of the shouting, you can hear the deep unhappiness. Yo, who am I supposed to be? The feeling is that these people are here. I didn't have time to look for you, but you took the initiative to send it to the door, which is interesting. Across the distance, Carlo saw the familiar figure of the person who came. That's right, it was the Straw Hats who boarded Sky Island one step before them. Even Carlo didn't expect to meet them here, and the other party took the initiative to find them. Luffy, don't be so reckless. Finally, the Straw Hats and their group rushed under the big boat, and the Straw Hat boy Luffy, who was panting heavily, raised his head and glared at them. Looking at him like this, let alone Blackbeard and his party, they are confused. Even Carlo is so puzzled. What kind of plane is this guy doing? The first time I saw such a big hatred. Could it be that the two protagonists met and had a chemical reaction? Yes, I'm sorry, our captain, there is something wrong with his brain, don't bother with him. Below, Nami covered Luffy's mouth desperately, while embarrassingly apologizing to Carlo and the others, while scolding Luffy and preventing him from talking nonsense. But it's useless at all. It didn't take long for Luffy to break free, staring at Blackbeard and Carlo, who were standing at the front with a displeased expression, and angrily said, "Those priests, you defeated them. Quote, you guys robbed the prey I wanted to fly. And that god, where is he? Let him come out, I will beat him up." Luffy, don't make trouble, they're not easy to make trouble at first sight. Glaring over. The 7 members of the Straw Hat group are here. The angry Luffy, the Nami who kept stopping him, the panicked Usopp, the noisy Chopper, Zoro and Sanji standing calmly on the sides, and Li Haojiao. Robin, who covered his mouth and smiled beside him. As soon as it appeared, it was extremely noisy, and it was indeed the style of this pirate group, as always. Dude, that boy in the straw hat, is it? What's wrong? Luck. Seeing the kid below who kept yelling at them for what prey they had stolen, Blackbeard was suddenly speechless and asked Carlo beside him. After getting along with Carlo for so long, Blackbeard's concept and way of speaking have already changed, and it is very different from the original. You understand, that's right. Hearing this, Carlo was also speechless and nodded. Even he, a transmigrator, felt so outrageous at this time. Hey, I'm talking to you, why don't you make a sound and say, where has that god gone? Seeing that Carlo and Blackbeard hadn't reacted yet, the Straw Hat boy below scored twice and jumped even more, joyfully, and he almost came up and started directly. Really, I don't know whether to live or die. Chapter 82. Blackbeard hadn't gotten angry yet, Carlo couldn't help it. I'll just say it, Luffy, don't talk nonsense and piss them off. Seeing Carlo scolding, Usopp was even more startled and almost cried, running around, almost running away. On the contrary, Zoro and Sanji beside Luffy, their eyes were fixed, looking at the posture, they were always ready to do something. Ha ha ha, thief, I really don't know whether to live or die, it's a waste of Lousy's time. Brother, why don't you just get rid of these trashy fish? I don't know why, I'm very unhappy looking at that broken straw hat. Nonsense, of course you don't feel good about it. I have this plan too. Hearing this, Carlo nodded in agreement. Since the other party took the initiative to come to ask for abuse, then he really doesn't mind, just waste a little time and experience the coolness of the abuser. But at this moment, a voice came from the sea of clouds not far away, causing the two sides who were facing each other to be stunned. Yo, Luffy, we meet again. Also, Chi, after chasing after so long, I finally let me catch up with you. 2 sentences, from the mouth of one person, but the emotions are completely two extremes. This voice is familiar not only to the Straw Hats, but also to Blackbeard and Carlo. That's right, it was Fire Fist Ace, and he even came to Sky Island. Quote, exclamation mark, quote. Ha ha ha, we met again after a while, why are you here? Still a long way away, Luffy excitedly waved to the sea of clouds. Not only himself, but the other members of the Straw Hats, except Robin, were also greeting him warmly. This group of people, as early as in Alabasta, met. We didn't get to know each other for long, but we were familiar with each other. Thief, ha ha ha, I really didn't expect it to be him, he's here. My dear Captain, thief, ha 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 ha. On the big ship, everyone from the Blackbeard pirates also turned around at this time. Looking to the distance, stepping on the Waiba, the soles of the feet CFAA, with the flame power, or rushing towards them, the big wave ratio that the B is not enough, Ace. Immediately, Blackbeard let out a burst of laughter, looking at Ace's eyes, the dark light was constantly beating. Yeah, I didn't expect to meet him here. Rao is Carlo, and at this time, he is very surprised. Even if there is any god's perspective, it is impossible to expect that Ace will come to Sky Island. However, This saves us a lot of effort. Hey, don't worry. One or two, both love to dance. Exactly, I will satisfy you this time, and by the way, I will also satisfy Lao Su. Carlo is happy, this time he is really happy from the bottom of his heart, the kind that is so refreshing. Why Ace came, he didn't know and didn't need to know. He just needs to know that this trip to Sky Island has made a lot of money. Originally, in order to be in a hurry, I hurried to Sky Island, and after taking Thunderfruit, I had to leave quickly, and I didn't care about doing other things at all. Why, isn't it because they are afraid of missing the big wave B in front of them, causing their plans to be delayed? But now, the target is delivered to the door in person. No, it was delivered to the sky in person. Is there a more considerate takeaway service than this? Are you in a hurry now? Be in a hurry, play slowly. There is time. Thunderfruit and Ace couldn't escape this time, they all got into the bowl. Moreover, you can also abuse a wave of Straw Hat groups by the way, which is perfect, so beautiful. Straw Hat Boy Luffy, even if he was killed, the group of people on the boat in front of him were even more excited than him at this time. Ha ha ha, two captains, our luck is too good. Fire Fist Ace, come here, your destiny is already doomed. Hee, it seems that our plan to win the title of Shichibukai can be put on the agenda in advance. Looking at Ace, Burgess, Lafitte and others who had landed and were chatting with Straw Hat crew, it was hard to be patient and excited. After the banquet from Soraka, what were they expecting? Isn't that the day? It turns out that, Ace, the person you are chasing is that guy. However, they robbed my prey, that guy should also be my target, you are not allowed to rob me. Yoha, this is the first to start dividing up opponents. On the big boat, Blackbeard and Carlo were having fun. They were so angry and funny. Who gave the courage to these two brothers? Is it Liang Jingru again? Okay, don't make trouble Luffy, I've been away from Daddy's boat for half a year just for this business. The others, I don't care, Teach, I have to deal with it. Ace couldn't help but turned his head and stared at Blackbeard above. The eyes of the two met, and the atmosphere suddenly became subtle. Teach, that guy Ace, I'll leave it to you. Catch him back, and our plan can officially begin. On the big boat, Carlo curled his lips, and also decided to leave Ace to Blackbeard to deal with. After all, this is a fateful duel. It's just that this time the extreme confrontation is not fair. Facing the original Blackbeard, Ace's chances of winning are very slim. Now, in the face of the epic enhanced Blackbeard, Ace is probably not as good as a child in front of it. Failure is inevitable, I just don't know how badly and how fast we'll be defeated. Thief ha ha ha, I can't ask for it. I'll go first, Carlo bro, that gang of trash fish will be handed over to you. After hearing Carlo's words, Blackbeard was excited, couldn't wait, and jumped out of the boat immediately. He didn't say a word, just shook his head at Ace, the meaning was obvious, and then he ignored the other party and walked in the direction of the bushes. Quote. Seeing this, Ace's eyes instantly turned cold. This time, he didn't even bother to say hello to Luffy, only to see that there were traces of flames rising from his body, followed Blackbeard and left together. Chapter 83. Ace, wait for me. Okay Luffy, stop making trouble. This time, your brother is really serious, let's not disturb him. Seeing Ace turn and leave, Luffy shouted a few times and was about to catch up. Only this time, Zoro stood up, pulled him, and then persuaded him with a stern face. As we all know, in the Straw Hat Pirates, Zoro usually doesn't care about anything, but this time he rarely spoke, and his expression was quite serious. Is that so? Well then, hello, on board, you're walking with Ace's enemy, and that's my enemy. Regardless of whether you stole my prey or not, this time, I will beat you, flying you. Hearing Zoro's words, Luffy listened to the persuasion, then turned around and continued to provoke Carlo and the others, pedestrians. What a ugly monkey. The beloved who dares to provoke this king recklessly in front of this king is unforgivable. On the big ship, before Carlo could express his position, the Empress couldn't help it. The short pirate below, ignorant of the sky, said these bastard words in front of him again and again, and pointed the finger at her beloved Carlo. Can this be tolerated? If you can bear it, you are not an empress. Immediately, the Empress flicked her long slender legs, leapt into the air, and jumped off the boat. Kiss gun. With a pretty face ashen, the Empress stretched out her right index finger while she was falling, and tapped lightly on her lips. A small pink heart appeared on the top of that finger. Then, the Queen's right hand made a spear shape and aimed at Luffy, and a gun hit. The speed is so fast that no one in the Straw Hat Pirates can react. It is also true that the Straw Hats at this time fought their lives and forcibly defeated Crocodile, but how could they easily accept the attack of the same level of the Empress? It's really picturesque. This little girl is different from others when she starts to fight and fight. Well, eye-catching, really eye-catching. On the big boat, Carlo still stood there, watching everything calmly. Not only did he not take Luffy's arrogant scream in his eyes, he even admired the rare dance of the Empress on the spot, which was quite useful. As for blocking, then don't think about it. How can you stop it? The female emperor beats Luffy violently, and this kind of bridge is the most exciting. Carlo said. This must not arrange a wave of big perfume femur worth 100 million. Ha 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 ha, Deputy Captain, I can't bear it anymore. After waiting for so long, there is finally a fight. Is the one with the slingshot their sniper? With such a childish toy, is he worthy of being a sniper? Let me judge his fate. Seeing that Blackbeard and the Empress have all started one by one, Burgess, Van Oka and others, how can they hold back? After eating such a powerful devil fruit, there has never been a chance to shoot. Last time on Drum Island, everyone was wiped out by Blackbeard, and this time on Sky Island, they were all harvested by Blackbeard. It's hard to wait for an opportunity to make a shot. If you don't grasp it, when will you wait? Let's go and have a good time. However, don't touch the woman with the hat, let me deal with her myself. Hearing this, Carlo nodded, letting the madmen who had been holding back for too long go down to their presumption. In the face of such a big gap between the little Straw Hats, it really can't be called a battle, just play. Yes, co-captain. Ha ha ha, then let's go. Vice Captain, please take it easy, don't make my sister-in-law jealous, otherwise, it's terrible. Get out of here, no more nonsense, be careful, I will let you feel it now, what is terrible. Hearing the order, several people took the order, and all jumped off the big boat excitedly, and went to find their own targets. It's just that Burgess is a little bit of a mouthful, although what he said is not false. Once the Empress is jealous and angry, it is they who panic. But this guy may have forgotten that their deputy captain may be the most terrifying one. After being glared at, Burgess shuddered, smiled embarrassingly, and fled away from the big ship. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot flowers But Burgess's worries are not unreasonable. After all, Carlo named them to stay and dealt with the woman in the hat, not someone else. It's Robin. Anyone who is not blind can see it, another superb beauty. If Carlo used a ruthless hand to destroy Flowers and kill him directly, then there would be no such thing as the Empress being jealous. But if you think about it with your ass, you know, how could Carlo kill Robin? Leaving her to clean up herself must have an idea. According to the adventure timeline of the Straw Hats, at this time, they had just defeated Crocodile in Alabasta and then went to Gaia Island. Like Carlo and the others, they took the Sky Current from there to Sky Island and met here. In other words, Robin joined this team, at most, more than 10 days ago. And she joined by forced herself, not to mention that she doesn't have much affection for this team now. Even some people in the Straw Hats still have a lot of doubts about her and don't fully trust her. For example, Luigi Zoro. Robin's sense of belonging to the Straw Hats was slowly built up after experiencing the Sky Island adventure together, and then going to Qinghai to meet Marine Admiral Aokiji. It was not until the Seven Waters City experienced the Enies Lobby incident that they were completely integrated and became an inseparable group of people. So, if you don't dig a corner now, when will you wait? The best opportunity is right in front of you. How could Carlo let it go so easily? Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of his prophetic vision of God? This thing, isn't it used to seek good luck and avoid evil, and to collect girls? Robin is such a unique beauty, in addition to beauty, the ability that every pirate group in the sea dreams of. Interpreting the historical text, how many people like her can be found in this world? Even the world government and marine have, thinking about her day and night, and they set a bounty of over 80 million yuan when she was a child, wanting to kill her. Such a person, put it in the Straw Hat group, it is too wasteful, if you don't dig it and bring it with you, you will be sorry for yourself. Chapter 84. On the island where Blackbeard and Enel fought before, multiple battlefields were opened up at this time. In the distance, two completely opposite energies of darkness and flames have begun to erupt, and that is the battlefield that belongs to Blackbeard and Ace. Nearby are the Blackbeard pirates and the Straw Hat pirates who have already fought together. Of course, it is said to be a war, but no matter how you look at it, it is all one-sided abuse of vegetables, carried out by Burgess, Lafitte and others. It really did answer what Carlo said before, just having fun. And their big ship was already empty at this time. I don't know when, Carlo also jumped off the boat. At this time, he was pacing and walked slowly in the direction of Robin. In the current battlefield, everyone in the Straw Hat Pirates has fallen into a real hard fight. Only Robin, no one took the initiative to shoot at her. Even if she wanted to help, she was deliberately avoided by others. This wave of manipulations completely stunned this black-skinned beauty. Looking at the stunned pretty girl, Carlo smiled and walked towards her in a leisurely manner. At the same time, he glanced at the battlefield elsewhere. For example, Chopper and Nami, who are yelling and being chased by Poison Q. As one of the two card faces of the Straw Hat Pirates, Nami's ability is also asleep. Innately full of sailing talents, after the study abroad in the small sky island Visalia in the later period, the terrifying talents of sailing and manipulating the weather are more vividly displayed. This led to the fact that in Carlo's previous life, this big girl once had the title of Weathering Child. Although it is said that this is a joke of fans and spectators, it is true. Her sailing talent and weather manipulation are quite nerdy. Of course, she is also a girl with a beautiful appearance and a great figure, with a lively personality, which is very attractive to Carlo. Saying that you don't want to dig her over together is a lie. It's just a pity that Nami at this time has already been integrated into the Straw Hat Pirates. After going through the Arlong incident, it's too hard to dig her out, and there is no rebellious heart, it's even harder than God. On this sea, the navigator is still very important. If this navigator has a different heart, it will be terrible. So, in desperation, Carlo could only give up this plan and go straight to Robin. As for Nami, we'll talk about it later. Difficult doesn't mean it's impossible, doesn't it? Anyway, digging her up is already hell-level difficulty, and where can it get harder? The top priority is to pry Robin first. Thinking of this, Carlo no longer inked. The figure that was originally a leisurely stroll disappeared from the place in an instant. At the same time, Robin, who was overwhelmed in the crowd, felt a huge sense of crisis for no reason. Second round flower. In an instant, Robin crossed his hands and was about to release his moves to fight the enemy. However, just as she made a move, she was stunned again. No goal at all, what a shit. Her fruit ability is relatively buggy, can grow from the opponent's body, and can easily defeat the enemy. But that also has to have a goal. Now she doesn't know where this crisis is coming from, and she can't see any figure in front of her. How to fight? Don't bother, Nico Robin, with your strength, you also want to fight with me. Suddenly, a disdainful voice came from beside my ear, and it was so close that it was almost said to my ear. This made Robin suddenly startled, and hurriedly continued to release his moves. Second flower strangulation. However, just as her voice fell, a palm appeared, close to her eyes, and directly held her wrist. The power is so great that it is like a pair of handcuffs, directly locked. No matter how Robin can get rid of it, he can't get rid of it. It's you. At this time, she realized that the person who stood at the head of the big boat just now was standing in front of her. Close at hand, there was an inexplicable smile on the corner of the other party's mouth, which seemed to be teasing, but also seemed to be mocking, condescending, and looked at her indifferently. My move, why doesn't it work? After staring at each other for a moment and being stunned for a moment, Robin was shocked and found that the move he used just now did not appear at all. The two life-threatening arms that should have appeared on the back of the opponent's neck were empty, and there was no sign of them appearing at all. This is not because Robin has been held by the wrist, no one knows better than her, before she was held, or Huanwa's strangle had already been played. This kind of unreasonable move that grows directly on others has no flaws, how can it be broken? Looking at Robin's shocked, dilated pupils, Carlo smiled. You don't think that with your little tricks, you can restrain me? Childish. The smile faded instantly. Carlo snorted coldly, and with a flick of his hand, he flicked Robin's wrist away. At the same time, Robin's already slender body suddenly felt a huge force, and his body flew up involuntarily. Towards the rear, it flew several meters before falling to the ground. Oh, the gap is too big, I want to control it too, but it's hard to control it. Seeing Robin fall to the ground, Carlo was helpless. He didn't really want to seriously hurt Robin. But the gap between them is really too big. Although Carlo has tried his best to restrain himself, he didn't even use 1/1000th of his strength, but he still threw it away. There is no way, if he controls his strength, he will simply stop moving. Give it up, you don't really think that with your little straw hats, you can be our enemy. Seeing Robin stand up and plan to shoot at himself again, Carlo continued to increase his output, and sneered. Quote. 6 flowers slap combo. Robin did not respond to Carlo's ridicule, wiped the dirt on his pretty face, crossed his hands again, and shot at Carlo. No way, why, it's useless. Shocked Robin for 10,000 years. If the attack was interrupted by the opponent just now, what about this time? The two were only a few meters apart. This time the other party didn't do anything, but his own moves were completely ineffective. With who you are now, do you still want to slap me? Hearing the name of the strange move Robin used, Carlo was excited. However, he didn't intend to continue attacking her. The purpose of shock and awe has been achieved. I believe that Robin at this time, even if he can't understand it, can still feel the huge gap between them. As for Robin's move failure, isn't that inevitable? How could Carlo, who has a high-level armament hockey body, let her attack of this level take effect on herself? Look at what pain your friends are going through. In comparison, you are already lucky enough. Chapter 85. Flower fruit is a bug, but it is impossible to kill at will without any restrictions. Otherwise, Robin would kill him with a crooked neck and screw Kaido's head off. Wouldn't he be invincible? Obviously, this is not realistic. In the face of enemies with a large gap in strength, especially armament hockey and enemies with strong physique, at this time, flower fruit will also be greatly restricted. Even ineffective. For example, Carlo, who has a physique of heaven-defying, has a high-level armament hockey. Where can it be restrained by Robin, who can't even know hockey now, and the fruit development has just started? Isn't that nonsense? On him, it is impossible to even grow hands. It's just that Robin obviously doesn't understand this. At this moment, Jungdai frowned slightly and looked at Carlo in a dazed way, wondering what went wrong. But right now, where is there so much time for her to be dazed? Hearing Carlo's reminder, Robin only reacted at this time, and hurriedly looked at several other battlefields. Awful. What a terrible word. At this time, the 25th Straw Hat Pirates, except for her Robin, almost all the rest are experiencing unilateral madness. Of course, being abused. Is that your captain? Tisk tisk. Hancock's great perfume femur is so beautiful, the ultimate in violent aesthetics. Following Robin's gaze, Carlo was delighted. It really lived up to his expectations. The Empress really used her signature skill, perfume femur. Even if Luffy doesn't have the nerves and consciousness of men and women, he won't be petrified, but just with the huge impact of this kick, he can't bear it at this time. When he stepped down, he directly vomited blood for 3 meters, and his body was kicked up like a cannonball for hundreds of meters. What a joke. The Empress is not a vase, her strength is amazing. It's just that her heaven-defying beauty and arrogant personality usually cover up the halo. Burgess is also good. There is progress. Without using the animal shape, you can hammer that green algae-headed swordsman. What the hell is that long nose? Do you want to laugh at people with a slingshot? You can't even see Vanoka's shadow, but he's been shot quite a bit. If you fight like this again, will you die? Carlo's mouth was not idle, and as Robin's eyes changed, he acted as a instructor next to him, constantly commenting on the battles on the field. Step by step, I want to slowly break Robin's psychological defense. Is that woman and Tanuki also your crew? How dare you go out to sea with such a little strength? Learn from others to be pirates. I was chased by a sick old man under my command and ran everywhere, crying and screaming. What was it like? Carlo's mouth was ruthless. he meant something, glanced at Robin, and explained, a battle situation. And the one in a suit, that's not okay. He was taken by Lafitte's crazy show, and he couldn't even touch other people's clothes. Enough. Hearing the taunts that kept coming from the side, Robin finally couldn't help it, her heart was trembling slightly, and she thought of some possibility. What the hell are you trying to do? But you didn't attack me, and you came to tell me this. You are, from the world government. Tell me what you want me to do, you can let them go. They have nothing to do with the Ohara incident. Looking at the tragic situation on the battlefield, coupled with the strength of the man in front of her that she couldn't understand, Robin was completely desperate. This is simply an unfair battle. No, it's not a battle at all. It's crushing. In the face of such a terrifying enemy, they have no chance of winning, and if they drag on, I am afraid they can only watch these friends who have been with each other for a while, get killed. Robin was also straightforward, and he told the truth directly, talking about the advantages and disadvantages, and didn't want to implicate them because of his own affairs. She is different from most of the Leng Tu Ching in the Straw Hat Pirates. Wanted since he was a child, he has seen his hometown destroyed with his own eyes, fled for many years, and stayed in a Baroque organization for several years, and he has long been used to the scorching world. It can also more accurately see the dark side hidden behind some things. Obviously, this group of people is coming for her. Otherwise, why would he abuse his partner? But he didn't attack her very much, and he was still wasting his words here. Isn't it obvious? Other than the world government, who else would be so deliberate? Although the time together is not long, the feelings are not deep. But Robin also doesn't want to see these friends who haven't been with each other for a long time, because of her, they are destroyed. World government is not something their little pirate group can fight against. Hey, it looks like the heat is up. Seeing the collapsed Robin, Carlo was overjoyed, and the corners of his mouth curled up indistinctly. I want this effect. You think too much, we're not some kind of bird world government. It's real, pirates. Carlo curled his lips, showing considerable disdain for the name, and then continued, but one thing, you guessed it right, I'm here for you. Not from the world government. How is this possible? Hearing this, Robin was stunned. Except for the world government and Marine, how could anyone go so far as to find her? It's easy for me to let them go. Exit Straw Hat crew and join our Blackbeard pirates. I can consider it and give them a sigh of relief. Finally, Carlo revealed his true purpose. After that, he stopped talking, just looked at Robin, who was sluggish, and gave her time to weigh the pros and cons. Silence, long silence. After a long while, the shrill screams continued to be heard in the ears, which belonged to the members of the Straw Hats. At this time, Robin bit his lip and asked with a pale face, "Why do you want to recruit me?" Ding dong. It was detected that Nico Robin's psychological defense line gradually collapsed, and the system randomly selected the task to trigger. Option 1. Give up recruiting Robin, kill the Straw Hat group, and destroy the flowers. Reward. World under one person, Tianshifu move, Golden Light Curse emission hockey version. Option 2. In front of Nico Robin, he abused the Straw Hats and said that he took a fancy to her beauty, lusted after her body, and kidnapped her directly. Reward. Shinigami World, Shunpo. Option 13. Intimidate and lure Nico Robin to join the Blackbeard pirates voluntarily, or be voluntarily boarded. Reward. World of Hokage, Flying Thunder God Technique Modified. Chapter 86. Advertisement. I'll go, is this okay? Carlo was a little surprised by the several prompts that appeared one after another in his mind. Unexpectedly, the long-lost system task was triggered at this time. The trigger of this thing is really random enough, but it's not bad, I like it. It's just this option. Say it out so bluntly, I don't want to lose face. The emergence of system tasks naturally made Carlo happy. After all, his original plan was to subdue Robin and let her follow him. But the task options given by the system made him feel very painful. Especially option 2, it's like a roundworm in his stomach. Carlo's purpose, how could there not be this? It's just that the system is worthy of being a system, and it doesn't save him any face, so he just clicked it out. I really don't know what it means to be human. Choose 3. Carlo had a dark face, and after silently complaining in his heart for a long time, he finally made a decision and gave his choice. No surprise, of course it was 3. Killing Robin. How could that be possible? You don't even have to think about it. Carlo said that this system is broken, even if you don't understand the world, and you still don't understand the customs. Craving her body. That's true, but the reward is obviously not as good as the third option. Advertisement. Golden Light Spell and Shunpo, one to improve offense and defense, the other to move the body quickly and instantaneously, all belong to direct combat moves. To improve offense and defense, Carlo doesn't need it right now. His physical attack and defense has almost overflowed, and with the bonus of high-level armament hockey and the immortality surgery, scheduled, in the future, he will also improve himself a lot. Where do I need to improve? It's not necessary at all. For him, the golden light mantra had almost no other use except for the golden light all over his body to compare his appearance. To waste a reward for being handsome, Carlo can't do this bastard. As for Shunpo's speed boost, that's what he needs. Although Carlo's current speed is fast enough, it is given by his tyrannical body. Still can't compare to such advanced techniques as Shunpo. Looking back at the rewards given by the system in the past few times, he chose to improve his physique, conqueror's hockey and other talents and additional enhancements. As a result, aside from himself, Carlo only has repair gloves that can be used against the enemy, and so far he has not had any of his own exclusive combat moves. It has always used the most direct and primitive violence, which is punching and kicking. Although the power is enough, but it is not handsome enough, there is no force at all. Somewhat embarrassing. However, there is no way out. After all, he hasn't eaten devil fruit yet, so even if he develops it now, he can only develop pure physique moves, which doesn't make much sense. No, someone will give you a pillow when you doze off. The 3 options that the system will bring are all real combat moves, not boosts or talents. Not to mention the Golden Light spell, the remaining 2 options, Shunpo and Flying Thunder God. Is there anything else to consider? Of course, Flying Thunder God. Advertisement. No matter how fast Shunpo is, it belongs to the use of physical skills. And Flying Thunder God, but direct teleportation, belongs to the category of space. If you learn Shunpo, you might as well have a chance to study shaving in Marine 6 styles. The principles should be similar. Or at least replace it. But Flying Thunder God is different. This is magic. Leaving the mark of Flying Thunder God, you only need to move your consciousness and you will teleport yourself to any place marked with the mark. This is absolutely a nightmare for the enemy. Whether it's fighting or opening up, there is no solution. Once the Flying Thunder God is obtained, there is no one who can keep Carlo in the entire Grand Line. Even Kizaru of Sparkling Fruit is not good enough in terms of speed. After all, no matter how fast the speed of light is, can it be faster than teleportation? So Carlo didn't struggle at all, so he chose option 3, Flying Thunder God. It's just that the prefix of Flying Thunder God has the word revision, and at this time he is also confused, and he doesn't know what revision the system has made. This can only be explored after he completes the task and gets the reward. The release of the system task and the selection of Carlo, all these were carried out in his mind, almost in an instant, without delay. After doing all this, Carlo endured the secret joy in his heart and looked at Robin again, full of satisfaction. Beauty. Presumptuous, that is called sending money coy. Why do you want to recruit you? Do you still need to ask me about this kind of question? Advertisement. Robin, with your IQ, you shouldn't have imagined it. Surprises are surprises, but the process still has to continue. Carlo is still holding that high shelf, ready to start attacking. At this time, the opponent's psychological defense line has collapsed for the most part, and it is a good time to attack the heart and win it in one fell swoop. Looking at Robin, whose face was pale and his body couldn't stop shaking, Carlo smiled, and then he threw a nuclear bomb-level question. Let me ask you first, Nico Robin, why did you join the Straw Hat Pirates? Isn't your greatest dream avenging the world government to make atonement for the destroyed O'Hara? 5. A mere group of straw hats, it took everyone's life to defeat a fallen sand crocodile. Please. Tisk tisk, with such a little strength, you can overthrow the world government and allow you to achieve your goals. Should I say you're delusional, or just too naive? Boom. Alter. Carlo's words, like a thunderbolt, rang in Robin's ears. She was incomparably shocked. Her eyes stared at the boss for a moment, her delicate body trembled even more, one hand covered her mouth, the other hand stretched out unconsciously, trembling and pointed at Carlo. How did he know? Her own life experience, origin, and the hatred hidden in her heart, these are only known to her. Even if she forcibly boarded the ship, she never told anyone in the straw hats. But the man in front of him, this should be the first time they met, right? The other party actually knew so clearly about his own details. This is too scary. Chapter 87. Advertisement. Even if it's what you said, so what? Does it matter if I join a strong or weak pirate group? Is there any difference? Even if I can join a team of powerful monsters like the Four Emperors, or a force like the Revolutionary Army, I still can't do it and take revenge on the world government. It took a long time for Robin to recover from the shock of Ultimate. However, she was smart and didn't ask why Carlo knew so well about her. Everyone has their own secrets. Now the two sides are enemies. She is not that stupid. Go ask others about this. On the contrary, the opponent touched the most vulnerable place in his heart, and Robin's psychological defense line collapsed even more. At this time, he looked hysterical, growled lowly, and threw out 3 consecutive questions. Hearing Robin's rebuttal, Carlo was not surprised, and the expression on his face gradually became disdainful. Hee, stupid woman, can't you see now that our pirate group is a group of masters who are not afraid of heaven and earth? Tell you, our goal is to overthrow the world government, replace them, and become the new masters of this world. Only if follows me, will you have the chance to fulfill your long-cherished wish of revenge against the world government, understand? What? Does this man know what he is talking about? Confrontation. No, go over the world government. What kind of madman could say such a thing? Robin, who had finally recovered from the shock, was stunned again. Advertisement. No one knows the horror of world government better than her. In such a chaotic and powerful era when pirates are born in large numbers, they are still pressed on their heads, in front of the masters of the world. To obliterate a country is a matter of one hand. What kind of people and what kind of team would dare to take the initiative to fight against such a world government? He also threatened to kill them. It's unrealistic. No, it's impossible. At this time, Robin, full of unreality, kept shaking his head, and kept repeating, I don't believe. I don't believe. I admit that you are very powerful, so powerful that we have no resistance at all, but compared with the world government, it is still far from the world. 4 emperors, don't dare to say such a thing. Oh, really? Hearing this, Carlo raised his eyebrows, glanced at other battlefields without a trace, and then smiled. Believe it or not, now is not very important. What's important? Your teammates are going to die soon. This random voice made Robin, who was still immersed in the other party's madness, unable to extricate himself, instantly shuddered. Yes, now she can't even hear the screams of her friends. Robin immediately turned his head and looked at other battlefields. On the battlefield at this time, all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates have fallen. No one was standing, covered in blood, apparently seriously injured. This scene is even worse than when this group of people fought against the Baroque in Alabasta before. All lost, miserable. On the other hand, the people on the other side didn't even suffer any injuries, and even the only hand stained with blood was theirs. It's not at the same level at all, and it can't be fought. The strength of the other crew members should not belong to the Grand Line at all. Advertisement. I can think about it and give them a chance to live. Of course, the premise is that you quit there and join us. I can let my men stop and let them go. Seeing the despair in Robin's eyes, the satisfaction on Carlo's face grew even stronger. The heat is almost there. Hearing the olive branch offered by Carlo again, this time, Robin did not refuse. Because, she has seen that Fang's subordinates are standing in front of her companions with a grin on their faces, and they can end them at any time. These 6 lives are now in her mind, once she refuses. Robin can't imagine the consequences. Did you see my ability to decipher ancient texts? Still the same as the previous question, asking why the other party wanted her to join. People who are not from the world government, but want to bring themselves under their command, that can only be the reason. Yes, not quite. That's just one of the reasons. Carlo nodded, noncommittal. And, other reasons? Certainly. I'm still hungry for your body. Just a simple question and answer. Robin's pretty face blushed slightly, and he was speechless for a moment. Terminator. Faced with such a shameless answer, besides being sullen, she has a hairy way. Haha, I'm joking. Advertisement. Carlo's face was blushing and his heart was not beating, and he was talking nonsense. Anyway, no one could know his true thoughts except that bastard in the system. But isn't this bad? My proposal is your only and best choice now. It can save your teammates and give yourself a chance. Let's see if our pirates have the ability to overthrow the world government. Well, I'm not kidding you. Carlo's words, quite hockey, did not take world government seriously. What is this sudden sense of reliability? After listening to these words, Robin couldn't help but tremble slightly. Maybe she didn't even realize that she had already started to shake. At this moment, a shocking strong aura suddenly appeared. Let Robin, who is weighing, suddenly widen his beautiful eyes, who raised his head, and looked at the man in front of him. Conquerors. Hockey. Robin is well informed and has been alone for a long time. Unlike the rest of the Straw Hats, she recognized this hockey in an instant. It's just that her teammates seemed to be like a bunch of countrymen, lying on the ground covered in blood. They were shocked by this momentum, but they couldn't figure out what was going on. This comparison comes out at once, don't be too obvious. You actually have such qualifications. Okay, if you can really let them go, my lord, I would like to join the command of your lord. Under this breathtaking shock, Robin was finally completely shaken and agreed to Carlo's solicitation. Even the name has changed, which makes Carlo feel quite useful. This chick is on the road, I like it. Chapter 88. Advertisement. For the Straw Hat Pirates, Robin's sense of belonging is not strong. It's just that after the Alabasta incident, the group defeated their boss and lost their only safe place for so many years. Robin, who has no clear goals, does not want to continue to live in exile and avoid the world government. That's why I forcibly boarded this group of people's boat, and it was considered a temporary shelter for myself. Now, since the man in front of him and his subordinates are stronger than the Straw Hat Pirates, it is naturally a better place for shelter. And in this way, to force her to join, think about it and know that if you join this group, at least you don't have to worry about safety issues all the time in the future. And save everyone from the Straw Hat Pirates. Although the relationship is not deep, Robin doesn't want them to be killed because of her own reasons, so if they can save them, she will feel better. And, what if, in case what the man in front of him said is true, their goal is to subvert the world government? If this is the case, with the terrifying strength they show, and the talent and aptitude of this man, it will not be too far away to reach that day. More likely than Straw Hats indeed. Although he knew that the hope was very slim, Carlo's remarks did give Robin, who was already bearish on life and death, a great motivation. Persistence, the motivation to live. With so many possibilities ahead, Robin didn't hesitate any longer, nodded immediately and agreed to Carlo's invitation. Come on, Miss Robin, it's time for us. At this moment, Carlo stretched out his hand and invited Robin with a smile. Advertisement. Seeing this, Robin's pretty face blushed slightly, thinking of the tiger and wolf words said by this shameless adult just now, coupled with the scene in front of him, how strange he thinks. However, she didn't hesitate for too long. After a little hesitation, she stretched out her hand and put it on the other's palm. Then, he walked to Carlo's side. In the battlefield at this time, no one paid attention to the situation on Carlo and Robin's side. The people of the Straw Hat Pirates were beaten to the point of losing consciousness, while Burgess and the others were still enjoying the thrill of abusing the toys. Only the Empress, who always pays attention to Carlo, noticed that the woman seemed to put her hand on the hand of her beloved. In front of this king, seduce this king's man. Unforgivable. The queen's expression changed very fast, resentful for a while, anger for a while. Looking at the two people in the distance, a sour feeling of ultimate began to ferment. She wanted to teach the woman who dared to touch her man, even if she just touched his hand, it was an unforgivable sin. But, I didn't take any action in the end, I just stood there, sulking myself. She didn't want to provoke Carlo's hatred and add trouble to him. In that case, the Empress would only panic. So, right now, I can only be sulking myself, or... It's all your fault. Why did you bring someone to appear in front of this king? If you didn't bring that woman, how could this happen? The Empress was extremely angry, but she couldn't find any trouble with that woman. In the end, she finally found an outlet. The slender legs, with the strength of ultimate, kicked and kicked on the bastard Straw Hat Boy who had been unable to get up. But it should not be said, Luffy is really resistant to beatings. It was as if the blood was locked, and he was seriously injured. If he kicked it like this, not only did he not die, but he didn't even fall into a coma. Advertisement. A batch of meat. Okay, stop and give them a breath. At this moment, Carlo took Robin to the battlefield here, and let a few of his subordinates and the Empress stop this one-sided massacre. However, he would not be so kind, although his goal has been achieved, let Robin join his side. And also promised Robin, let these people die. But, he didn't say that he couldn't discuss them. Walking to the front of Straw Hat Crew, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, Carlo smiled, pouted his lips in disdain, and opened the ultimate ridicule, a mysterious mouth escape. Fish, don't jump, don't you want to yell and beat Lao Su? What's going on with this look now? It's a shame. Well, now Uncle Ben is in a good mood. For the sake of Robin, a beautiful woman who is willing to join me, Uncle Ben will let you go first. But you guys are really rubbish, with so little strength, you still learn from others to be pirates. It's okay to be a pirate, but you still love to jump around and cause trouble. Is it to show your sense of existence? Tisk tisk. Up to now, you have to rely on the beautiful crew members to beg me, so that you can survive. It's too embarrassing. If I were you, I would be ashamed to commit suicide by jumping into the sea. Carlo's words, every word, hit the hearts of Luffy and the others, and spoke at the point of pain, so that Straw Hat Crew, who was lying on the ground, was all out of anger. Standing behind Carlo, Robin, who heard these words, opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't speak. Lord Carlo had already promised himself to let them go, and in front of Straw Hat Crew, he maintained her feathers. It's just saying some excessive things. Although it sounds ugly, it's also true. If you want to stop it at this time, then you will be somewhat at a loss. Advertisement. Bastard, how dare, coerce Robin. Robin, don't promise, will get you back. I'm going to kill you. Under the extreme anger, the Straw Hats gang ignored their severely injured bodies, and from nowhere they stealed a bunch of energy, and they even stood up. Seeing this scene, Carlo finally understood, what is the law that the more the villain talks, the more he will die. But unfortunately, he is not the useless villain, and it is even less likely that he will be defeated by this group of trash. The difference is too big. Single quote. Just when all the members of the Straw Hats stood up struggling and wanted to fight with Carlo and the others, a figure flew over from nowhere, and smashed directly on the Straw Hat Luffy, knocking him to the ground again, who had just stood up. Ace. Rollo. It took a long time for the Straw Hat Crew to react, and the figure who flew straight over turned out to be Luffy's brother, Fire Fist Ace. However, at this time, Ace was already in a coma, covered in blood, and there was still a lot of inexplicable black mist on his body, which could not be removed at all. Thief, ha 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 ha. At the same time, a loud laughter filled with chills came, and the figure of Blackbeard came out of the bushes. I saw him braving the black mist with one hand and controlling the endless thunder with the other, just like a big devil. I heard that you are going to kill Lao Su's deputy captain. You are tired of riding a horse. Chapter 89. Advertisement. Quote exclamation mark. Quote. Not only did I force my partner to take away, but I also injured Ace like this, I'm going to beat you all up. Looking at Ace who was lying in front of him, even his breathing became extremely weak, and Robin who had already stood behind Carlo, the whites of Luffy's eyes were about to turn red. In an instant, the protagonist's halo was possessed, and the serious injury that the Empress had caused him before seemed to have healed. He stood up directly and squatted there. The rubbery calf wriggled up and down suddenly. Second gear. As Luffy's roar fell, the skin all over his body turned red, and strands of white gas emerged from his body. Good guy, forced the second gear to come to Lao Su ahead of time. Seeing this familiar scene, Carlo raised his brows. According to the original trajectory, the current Luffy, whereas the second gear and the third gear, it was all in the Enies Lobby chapter, and he was awakened after a huge stimulation, and then turned around and killed CP9. And now, May 4-3, is still on Sky Island, and it's so strong. However, it was almost the same, and this time, it was also because of Robin, and Ace was almost dying. The stimulation he received was probably greater than the stimulation he experienced in the capital of Seven Waters in the original trajectory. Rubber katakana middle dot machine gun. As soon as the second gear started, Luffy jumped into the air, aimed a pair of fists at the nearest Carlo, and started to output frantically. I've never hated someone so much, and I've never felt so useless. It takes partners to compromise and sacrifice themselves to keep them alive. What a shame. He is the protagonist. This is so unscientific. Flip. Must flip. Advertisement. Tisk. Is this what you call reliance? It's too slow. At this level, you should go back to your hometown to drink milk. Effortlessly dodging the fist that fell like a gust of wind and rain, Carlo's mouth was unforgiving, and the mockery continued. But what he said was true. Even if the second gear is turned on, the speed has increased several times, but at this time Luffy is obviously too weak. In Carlo's eyes, the fist that looks like a violent storm is not an exaggeration to say that it is too fast. It is easy to dodge, and it does not touch him at all, even if it is clothes. How can, so, he couldn't hit a single shot, which made Luffy startled and angry, and even accelerated the output and put on the power of sucking, but the result was the same. At this time, Zoro, Sanji and others saw this and prepared for battle, and wanted to come up to help their captain desperately. It's a pity that he was directly stopped by Burgess and others before he could move. Desperate to become stronger and make a comeback. It is a pity that this kind of routine cannot be reproduced in front of this group of people. Thief, haha, when I asked, you didn't hear the horse, did you? Dare to attack Lousy's co-captain in front of Lousy and get over here. Dark water. Seeing Luffy turning a blind eye to his words, Blackbeard's forehead burst with blue veins, and his eyes instantly turned dangerous. Then he stretched out his palm, aimed at Luffy who was completely crazy, and used dark water. The effect of this trick on the capable person is several times higher than that of the normal person. As soon as Hajime used it, Luffy's figure disappeared instantly and flew towards Blackbeard involuntarily. Seeing this, Carlo raised his eyebrows and didn't say much. It's not interesting to pretend to be in front of this kind of small pickled vegetables, and they all promised Robin that if they want to let them go, they will take advantage of their mouths, so let's just do it. Brush wave favorability. Look, your original captain was so arrogant in front of Lao Su, and he dared to take the initiative. I don't care about him. What is this called? Pattern. Advertisement. And Blackbeard wants to abuse him. That's just right, save trouble. Carlo wasn't worried that Blackbeard would kill him, because the fight between this guy and Ace was over for a while. Returning slowly, he naturally heard what Carlo said just now to spare their lives. It's just that this guy chose to shoot when Luffy and the others were furious and insulted Carlo. Obviously, it was also to improve his favorability. Even though he promised to give Carlo an immortal operation, Blackbeard still felt not enough and panicked, for fear that Niobe's deputy captain would abandon him one day. So, take every opportunity to brush up on your favorability. Carlo is more or less clear in his heart, but it is not necessary, saying that I only want the goodwill of girls, and the gays are rough. A thief, ha ha ha, you are such a presumptuous brat, you are quite common in the sea. But without strength, it's just an ugly stupid monkey, just let Lao Su teach you. 50 million volts discharge. Looking at the straw hat boy who had been sucked into the palm of his hand, and the straw hat that made him look unpleasant no matter what, Blackbeard immediately put down his hand. The shot is 50 million volts, and the crackling thunder light condenses in the other palm. The next moment, he squeezed his palms into fists. With endless electric current, he slammed heavily on the straw hat boy. Before he could react, Luffy, who suddenly lost control of his body, screamed in agony. Luffy, Luffy. Seeing this, the members of the Straw Hats on the other side were all shocked and desperate, wanting to run over to rescue. However, where would the people in front of them let them go? All were stopped. After a while, the thunder light on Blackbeard's fist slowly dissipated, and the dark water on the other palm was also released. No matter how thick Luffy's blood was, he experienced such a terrifying electric shock after being seriously injured, and he also vomited white smoke, rolled his eyes, and passed out. The protagonist's halo must have a degree, but it is not invincible. Advertisement. When you encounter an enemy with such a big gap, do you still want to turn the tables? You want to eat shit. This time, Blackbeard did not encounter the same dilemma as Enel. The thunder was insulated and all his moves failed. Under the restraint of dark fruit, Luffy's fruit ability is directly given for nothing, the sun god is useless, and all the rubber properties of the body are removed, just like a normal person. Therefore, the discharge of 50 million volts is directly full, and the electricity is tender on the outside. It's a miracle that he didn't die. Everyone, this group of people is not something we can fight now, try to bring Luffy back, run. Life is the most important thing. When the day comes, we will become stronger and avenge today's revenge. Quick, desperate, split up, run. At this moment, the members of the Straw Hats, Zoro shouted at everyone, and then tried his best to get rid of the Burgess in front of him. Not a fool, can see the gap between the two sides. This group of people in front of them is not an existence that they can fight against now. Hearing this roar, the rest of the Straw Hats didn't speak, their expressions were serious, they nodded heavily, and then they all started desperately. However, at this time, the members of the Blackbeard Pirates 0.0 began to release water under Carlo's eyes and stopped pressing them. Let this gang run to Blackbeard's side, take Luffy with them, and get out of here like crazy. As for Robin, the captain is dying, can he still take care of Robin? And between them, they haven't been together for a long time, especially Zoro, who hasn't completely trusted her yet. Coupled with Robin's attitude at this time, they can also see that they have no choice but to give up first, saving the captain is important. It's strange to be able to leave so easily so suddenly, but the situation is urgent. The people in the Straw Hats didn't have time to think about it, they each chose a direction, and regardless of their seriously injured bodies, they rushed towards the distance. Ding dong. Detecting the escape of the Straw Hats, Nico Robin successfully joined Host's team under the coercion and lure of Host. Quote, the task conditions of the third auction are met, and the rewards will begin to be distributed. Chapter 90. Advertisement. It turned out to be such a revised version. Feeling the quest reward that he had already received, Flying Thunder God technique, Carlo suddenly realized, and only then did he know why a revised prefix was added in front of the name of this move. In the Hokage world, in the way of Flying Thunder God, it is very simple to attach your own chakra mark to the kunai or something. As long as this is the case, you can instantly replace anything with the chakra imprint at any time and achieve teleportation. In the pirate world, there is obviously no such thing as chakra. Therefore, the system directly changed the conditions of use, turning the consumption of chakra's additional imprint into a consumption of stamina. Just like using the devil fruit ability, it consumes stamina. In fact, it's still the same reason. The so-called revision is just to make moves from other worlds fit the current world. It's fine without changing the strength of Flying Thunder God. I'm really a little worried. Will this unscrupulous system take rebates and change all the moves? For these 25 unscrupulous systems, Carlo is 120% uneasy. Now is not the time to try the move. As for the carrier of the physical mark, I should choose Kunwu. Right now, in front of the entire Blackbeard Pirates, Carlo really couldn't test the strength of Flying Thunder God. Otherwise, it's hard to explain, the speed is fast, it's a bit too much to suddenly teleport. As for the carrier, Carlo still chose kunai, after all, being handsome is a lifetime thing. However, if you want to use something like kunai, you have to wait and build it yourself. Advertisement. How about it, Robin? I followed the agreement between us. The Straw Hats and the others, although they were slightly injured, left alive. In the future, just stay by my side with peace of mind. It won't be long before I'll show you the true strength of our pirate group, whether we have the qualifications to bring down the world government. After sorting out the newly acquired Flying Thunder God, Carlo turned his head and said to Robin. Hearing this, a faint smile appeared on Robin's face, and said, I believe in you, Lord Carlo. As for the road, Straw Hat crew, I'm asking for trouble, I can't blame the adults. They provoked first, and the adults have been very generous and let them survive. On the road, so special on the road, so good at talking, Carlo said that it is very useful. Although Robin's statement cannot be said to be 100% sincere, it is almost the same. Because what she said is true. Carlo and the others didn't do anything, but they might kill the evil god on this island. Just because he grabbed the so-called prey of the Straw Hat Boy, made a fuss, and was provoked wildly by them, who can bear this? With such a huge disparity in strength, the other party could spare their lives for their own sake. Damn, it's an honor. You must know that in this chaotic era, a simple collision may lead to a big fight, and one party can only be destroyed. They are all pointed at other people's noses to provoke, and they can be spared. What kind of bicycles do they need? Advertisement. Still want revenge. Somehow, coupled with the Straw Hat crew others, when they fled with Luffy, they looked at their own weird eyes. Robin, who committed himself to saving them, felt chills for no reason even if his feelings were not deep. This wave of coquettish actions directly led to Robin, who had no deep feelings for the Straw Hat Pirates, even more relief. The guilt in the bottom of my heart is almost completely cleared. That's why Carlo doesn't know. If he knew, he would probably laugh out loud. God's hand. Go, teach. This trip to Sky Island, with such a windfall as Ace, we can also have a showdown with Marine as soon as possible. All the goals were achieved, and they were overfulfilled. Robin's sister was still on the road, which made Carlo quite satisfied. Then, without writing any more ink, he directly greeted Blackbeard not far away, took Robin, and the Empress who was full of sourness and took the initiative to follow, and walked towards the big ship first. Thief, ha ha ha, yes, Carlo bro, this is all your blessing. Not only did I get Thunderfruit, but I also managed to catch Ace. This trip is really too complete, thief, ha ha ha. Hearing this, Blackbeard kept laughing, picked up the unconscious Ace, and walked towards the big ship with Burgess and the others. However, Robin, who followed behind Carlo, obviously did not feel the great hostility from the side. Because her attention was all on what Carlo said just now. Showdown with Marine. Advertisement. Are you going to confront the world government and Marine so early? It's so sudden. According to what she thought, even if what Carlo said was true and wanted to overthrow the world government, it shouldn't be so early. Now that they are strong, how can they be the enemy of the behemoth world government? Too bold. What kind of crazy people are these people? Just say a word, let it out, the whole sea will shake. Also, what the hell is Thunderfruit? Who is the captain of the two people in front of him? It seems to Mao that the one who is really in charge of the overall situation is the deputy captain in front of him. Having just joined the team, Robin's head is full of question marks and is shocked by everything that is happening and hearing. Incomprehensible. In this way, all the members of the Blackbeard pirates finally boarded the ship without encountering any more accidents. Under the influence of Carlo and Blackbeard's network, they easily learned the way to leave Sky Island without inquiring. After all, as a native of Qinghai, Straw Hat Crew's previous landing has spread on Angel Island where residents gather. Therefore, there will always be people talking about the way Qinghai travels to and from Sky Island, legends and other related topics. In this way, Blackbeard's group found an octopus in the White Sea and turned it into an octopus hot air balloon using the method they heard. Then, he left Sky Island and rushed to Qinghai. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.